Hi, Leslie. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's really great to have you here, and I appreciate your time. We're here today to be able to talk about Global Tech Advocates and your involvement in it. So it'd be really great if I could just get you to introduce yourself, your role, and how you first got involved with Tech London Advocates and Global Tech Advocates.
Sure, and thank you so much for having me, Tracy. So my name is Leslie Sarma. I am the co-lead of Tech Singapore Advocates, and I also have an additional role as the regional lead for the APAC region for the global group, which for us, we look at APAC the same way the British government does. So for us, that's ex-India and China, but includes North Asia down through Southeast Asia to Australia and New Zealand, hopefully. So it's a great region and one I think that's been really active and successful for the group. In terms of my involvement with the organization, I'm lucky enough and very proud to say that I've really been part of this since the very, very beginning. I'm obviously based in Singapore now, but I was in London for a long time before that, working at Pennington's Manchester Cooper, as it's now known. And along with Pat Saney and James Klein and some other people that were leaders in the firm, they were very proactive in driving this relationship between what was then Tech London Advocates and Pennington's, and I was lucky enough to just sort of benefit from that. And Pat and I ended up being co-leads on the original Talent and Immigration Working Group. This is now 12, 13 years ago. And it was a real, I think, moment of change in London for the tech industry. London was working really hard to sort of put itself on the map as Europe's tech hub. And I think it was organizations like TLA that did that. And obviously, a huge part of that was making sure that the right talent was able to come in and was able to stay. So it was an incredibly exciting time to be involved in that sort of government policy work and meeting folks and really bringing the community together as one to have a voice on sort of how to solve some of those problems. So it really was one of the great opportunities of my career to be a part of that, and ended up really, in my case, pivoting what I do professionally to taking on more policy-based work, government relations work, as well as sort of community and ecosystem building now in Asia. So that's how I came to all of this. I then moved to Singapore with my family, and after a few years there, when there was an opportunity to explore Tech Singapore Advocates, I found some fabulous partners who are Singaporean, which was, I think, essential to the success of the group, is that it has to come from local nous and really sort of the spirit has to be from the place. You can't overlay it. But found some wonderful partners, and we launched Tech Singapore Advocates in, I want to say 2018. And it's been hugely successful and hugely fun. We then grew beyond that, specifically very focused on Southeast Asia. And we now have wonderful partners in what we call GTA SEAL, which stands for Southeast Asia Leadership. We have groups in Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia,
Yeah.
and continue to grow those groups, and those partnerships have been super fruitful. So it's been a wonderful journey for me, and I look forward to it continuing.
Wow, that's an excellent journey and a lot that you've done, right? In terms of areas across the globe that you've covered as well. So
Yeah.
I know that because you've been involved for about 14 years as a founding member, you've got many stories to tell. So I just wondered
Sure.
if you could just share one or two of those stories that have helped you grow and progress and benefit as an individual, but also for your business as well. So I just wondered if.
So, I mean, I think there's sort of three things I would touch on, which for me sort of represent the various stages of this. Forgive me overusing the word, this journey. For me, the first is, this is now 2014. So looking back when we were really just sort of getting the ball rolling in London, and we hosted a series of events that were focused on getting the best talent into the UK and helping them stay there. And we called those, quite cleverly, we thought, home office hours. And the idea was that it was a chance for founders, students, generally foreign nationals that were living in the UK and working in tech in London specifically at that time, to meet in a very collaborative, casual environment with actual home office folks and talk about, why isn't my application working? What do I need to do? How do I get to stay here? And I think it worked incredibly well. And it was a really exciting project and I think meaningful and effective and something I really enjoyed. But I also think it speaks to a larger point about why Tech London advocates and global tech advocates work, which is that we are truly benign. We are not pushing for any side other than tech, the
Yeah.
greater good, the ecosystem. So it allowed us to open doors that at that time I think hadn't really been opened before. To quote Russ, it got people at a table that aren't normally at a table together because we weren't selling anything. We were just genuinely trying to help and to grow. And so I think at that time, particularly to have government folks at a table with international, with academics and with big corporates on the tech side, as well as with startups, that was a pretty new idea. And I think Tech London Advocates was the perfect vehicle to be that sort of glue, bringing all of that together. And that ethos is something I've really taken with me as the group has grown and as I've moved myself and the work I do in this space to Asia. The second thing I think was meaningful, and I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one that's mentioned this, is the India trip, is that we did a global tech advocates delegation to India. That was a hugely meaningful event for all of us. It was brilliantly led by the Tech India Advocates team, and included opportunities to be in big cities in India, in Bangalore and in Mumbai, but also to travel out of those bigger cities into a smaller market and experience sort of what all of this feels like on the ground. I think it was profoundly insightful, deeply moving on a personal level for many of us. And also, I think a real, again, demonstration of the what's unique about this group is that it's really led by the people that are doing the work and making a difference in that market. So it
Yeah.
isn't like you're saying, all right, somebody from London's planning a delegation to Mumbai, and you're going to see what they're able to do. It was a case of connecting on a really deep level with folks living and breathing and growing the tech ecosystem in India. And that the
Wow.
global tech advocates, the structure of it, of the community, allows for that real insider knowledge, because the network is made up of people that are sitting and working in each of the places. I think it gives you some real insight. And I don't know of another global network that pulls together such sort of inside track and lived experience from each of its markets and then makes it available to the other members.
Yeah.
That was hugely special for me, I know, and for a lot of other folks too, and changed the way I work with India. Like it gave me new network entry points and access points, and also a deeper understanding of what's meaningful in that market. Um, and then I guess the final thing I would mention in terms of how this has all evolved for me is I mentioned earlier that we have a very powerful group in Southeast Asia that we call GTA SEAL, or mostly I call GTA SEAL. But it's an extraordinary group of 5 Southeast Asian countries, all of whom are individually represented within Global Tech Advocates, but who've also made a real commitment to come together as a group, a regional group, to sort of put a concerted face forward to the rest of the world of the Southeast Asia piece. And of course, Southeast Asia is not a monolith. You can't come to Vietnam and then the next day move to Malaysia. There's regulatory issues, there's
Yeah.
cultural issues. But I do think it's a really living proof of sort of the stronger together notion. And we have seen that play out in very practical ways. We have partnered with each other on many things that sit even outside of global tech advocates, meaning that now I've done events in my day job, in my commercial piece of work that I do in Singapore, where I've said I need a partner in Thailand. And I've called up my partners from Global Tech Advocates in Thailand, and they've helped us find the people we need. They've helped us build the network we need in that market. So it's almost as though by being part of Global Tech Advocates, my market quintupled, or my network quintupled in size just by being a part of that. So I no longer feel disingenuous when people reach out to me in Singapore and say, who do you know in Vietnam? I know everybody in Vietnam. And that's because Nicole knows everybody in Vietnam. And so we've really become very dependent, reliant, engaged with each other as partners on all different types of things. And I think all of us have felt our commercial businesses, the work we do outside of Global Tech Advocates, benefit and grow from that. So I think the moral of the story for me with all of this is that the Global Tech Advocates access allows you to build relationships that you can then take and utilize outside of global tech advocates, that will be meaning for you as you grow your personal network and as you grow your business's network and find opportunities and find customers. So it's been a absolute driver of my career for me, and that's obviously why I've been involved with it for so long. It's been wonderful for me personally, and professionally too.
Wow, that's really great to hear. And you've almost answered the next question that I had, which was, how does it differ from other organizations? I don't know if you want to add anything to
No,
what you just said, or
I forgive me,
yeah,
and as you can see, I could talk about this endlessly.
yeah,
I think the major point I would raise there is the inclusivity point,
yeah.
um,
Okay,
because I am, as we all are, part of lots of other groups, many of whom are really, really wonderful and serve fabulous purposes. But I think the magic of the global tech advocates groups is that many of them, certainly in Singapore and I think across the world, and they don't have to be, but that many of them are absolutely open. They're absolutely about inclusivity. So
yeah.
you have this sort of odd moment when you look at the list of people that you deal with and that you work with, and you think, these are people I would never have met. These are people I would never have encountered professionally, certainly not personally, but for this group. And the number of surprises in terms of, this doesn't seem like an obvious entry point to me, and then it becomes something that's totally magic. And that I think the fact that GTA approaches everything with such openness and such inclusivity means that you have almost collisions with people that you wouldn't have sought out normally, but who end up becoming hugely valuable and interesting and meaningful professionally.
Yes.
And it's a strength in numbers piece. I think it's the openness and the willingness to accept people that are doing all sorts of different things and are at all different points in their respective journeys that makes it so powerful. Um, and I think that's rare. So many other groups I think are very focused on, we do this, or we talk to these people, or you have to apply, or we want you to have made this. And that's valuable and has an absolute place in the ecosystem. But something that's really about, we want to see it all and capture it all and then figure out how to parse it out. I think that's unique and really special.
Yeah, wow, that's an interesting way of hearing it. I haven't actually heard it from others that I've been talking to, so that's actually really helpful for people to hear here who's listening. And I just wondered, for those who are new that are listening or wanting to understand, what is Global Tech Advocates? What's Tech London Advocates? Why
Yeah.
should I bother joining? I suppose what advice would you give to them so they can make the most of
Well,
this and
you
actually
know,
benefit
yeah,
like you have? You know?
I think it's something that, and I know I have this conversation a lot, and I know you do too, Tracy. And I think the biggest piece of advice is that it's a self-driving machine, and
Yeah,
that you have to be proactive, in order to make it work for you. And so it is volunteer led. It is volunteer driven. It requires you to sort of approach it from a place of like, what can I give to this community in order to get things back? So I think it's not going to sort of magic up things for you if you're not willing to sort of put in some engagement and put in some effort. Having said that, as I think, and I think this ties into what I was saying earlier, the fact that it's volunteer led and volunteer driven is absolutely part of its power, because what that means is that you don't approach any interactions with your handout. You're always able to say, well, I'm here to give back to the community. So in exchange, let me be part of this. Let me be part of this conversation. Let me sit at this table. Let me get to know these people. And that I've found that the doors it opens for me, because I'm the one driving it from a place of good, has been incredibly powerful. And that if you were coming at it saying, what can this do for me? It wouldn't open the doors it does. It opens doors because people now know us to be exactly what we say on the tin, which is advocates for the global tech ecosystem. And so I think you have to sort of lean into that and decide that you're going to think about what you want out of this, think about how that would be beneficial for you, but also for the community, and then go out and use this fabulous network and this fabulous framework and the support we get from Russ and from people like you, Tracy, to achieve that. But you are going to have to drive it yourself. You are going to have to go out and find that. But I promise you, the calling card of Global Tech Advocates will open doors, because it comes with, I think, so much positivity and such a fabulous reputation for doing good around the world.
Yes, excellent. I love your summary. Thank you so much for that, Leslie. It's going to help a lot of people, so thank you so much.
Good.
And it helps to add to the conversations I'm having as well, just like you say. So just to end then, I just wondered if you could like describe Tech London advocates and global tech advocates in one or two sentences or one or two words. That's something that we
Well,
just
I mean,
leave
again,
them with.
as you know me well enough to know I'm not good at one or two sentences. So perhaps it's words. I think for me the key word, as we've already mentioned, is inclusivity,
Yeah.
and that I think is the trademark, the hallmark of this group, and that it's the opportunity to sit at a table with people you might never have sat at a table with before, and
Yes.
that is an absolute blessing, and something I've just enjoyed terrifically and benefited terrifically from, as I say, both professionally and personally.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you so much for talking to me today, Leslie.
Thank you
Really
for having.
appreciate that's you're welcome, and I really appreciate that you've been given really key insights that can actually help individuals to take this away and think, right, what can we actually do to get involved and how to be proactive to network. So really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.